Hi, this is Evelyn Maxwell with Holistic Health Education. Today, addressing the upcoming vote in Kansas on a constitutional amendment, an amendment that did not pass the legislature for inclusion on the ballot in 2020, but in 2021 it did. And on the surface, it sounds pretty reasonable. What I would like to do is look at it from John Wesley's 4 means or methods of evaluating any idea or action. Those 4 criteria are Scripture, tradition, reason, and experience. We'll begin with Scripture. In Exodus chapter 21, verses 22 to 23, we have an example of a young woman who got mixed up in a brawl between a couple of men and lost her pregnancy. The result was a fine that was less than a fine would be for someone who had killed another. It was not considered murder, and so it was a fine where one man had to pay the man whose wife had lost the pregnancy had to pay for that loss. So then we have in Mark, it's one of the things that Jesus said was that there were some people that it would have been better if they had not been born. That's a pretty strong statement. And as an example of that, I'm reading a book, which I don't recommend to anyone else, by Stephen King called Seasons, I think it is. Anyway, the second section in that book is called Apt Pupil, and it's about a young boy, 13, who becomes enamored with the ideas of Hitler and the tortures that seemed to really, quote, turn him on, that were used in experiments in Germany. And also an older man who was recounting these things and had been part of Hitler's command at one of the death camps. Now, in terms of tradition, we have in Kansas, I think in the United States, that the mother's health has to be taken into consideration. For a while it was mother's physical and mental health, and now it's been reduced in Kansas to just physical health. And in our scriptures in the New Testament, it's really hard to find anything on this topic in the New Testament if you're not going to consider it murder, which the Old Testament does not. Paul does not talk about children being equal to their parents or to adults. The Old Testament does not consider children to be equal to their parents or their adults. They were to respect their parents and obey their parents, but they were not equal. And in Kansas, we have the juvenile law, in which we do not expect people of a young age to be treated the same as adults when it comes to crimes. For Roe versus Wade, which I was working as a student in the surgical suite, and every evening that I was on duty, we would have as many as 12 young women who had attempted or had gone to someone to end their pregnancies. And unfortunately, many with infections that were going to affect their future fertility, and even one who died from hemorrhage. When I was in the operating room in Louisiana, in those years before Roe versus Wade, that was also the case. So my concern is that if we make abortion more strict than it is in Kansas already, because Kansas has some of the strictest abortion laws of any of the states, which does not allow abortion after 5 months unless it's for the life of the mother or her very serious physical effects. If that were to take place, the doctor who did the procedure would be due to criminal prosecution. And up until 5 months, which was considered the age of viability before these modern miracle life-sustaining efforts by the pediatric physicians who do a wonderful job with preemies, although preemies are still among those who die in Kansas, what they call natural causes. So up to that 5 months, there are so many serious restrictions on abortions. You have to have 2 doctors. They have to be connected with the hospital, and that's pretty good in the larger areas of population. In some of the rural areas of population, it's a real hardship. But Kansas has already very stringent abortion laws. So actually, by reason, we don't need any further restrictions on abortion. And so there's no need for a constitutional amendment. I don't want us to go back to those bad old days when young people lost their fertility and sometimes their lives because they were unable to get a legal abortion and they were determined to have an abortion. Although in the beginning I had thought, well, this doesn't sound unreasonable, but yet when I apply John Wesley's criteria, I have to say I will be compelled to vote no. And I hope you will think it through in terms of what you think God would want you to do when it comes time to vote in Kansas. Evelyn Maxwell with Holistic Health Education, wishing you a wonderful day, a wonderful year, and that you become part of God's family. If you don't know how to do that, you can look at my ebook at Eden's Gate, Whole Health and Well-Being. There is an older printed version, or you can go to my blog, evelynmmaxwell.com. God bless you. Goodbye.